Welcome to the Bogosity podcast for the 31st of March 2014, the podcast that's in your wallet. This is your host, Shane Killian, and joining me again this week is Tim Dyson. Tim, welcome back to the show.
Good day, everybody. Pleasure to be here as always.
So let's accost the news of the bogus. And this is kind of down the road from me in Fayetteville. A man was arrested by a plainclothes police officer for, get this, drinking iced tea.
Was it legal iced tea, not registered?
All right, well, this happened in April of last year, and what happened was Christopher Lamont Bailey, a rapper who goes under the name Extravagant, and his friend Tino Brown were in the parking lot of an ABC store. And in North Carolina, that's the state-run alcoholic beverage stores where you can buy beer and wine in grocery stores and stuff like that, but the harder stuff you have to get in an ABC store. So Bailey was out in the parking lot with his friend drinking canned iced tea, and his friend Brown was recording video on his cell phone, and so this whole thing is on video. A guy in plain clothes comes along, claims to be the police, doesn't show a badge, and demands to know what Bailey's drinking. So these guys point out all the time that they don't know who he was. They have no idea of knowing if he's the police, and they told him it was just iced tea. Specifically, it was a half iced tea, half lemonade drink called Arizona Half and Half. So then the man claimed that Bailey was under arrest and ended up putting him in a chokehold and put him down on the pavement and put him in handcuffs. So it turns out the man was Alcohol and Beverage Control Law Officer Rick Libero. He arrested Bailey and charged him with second-degree trespass and resisting a public officer. Notice, nothing about the drink.
Sounds like someone just had some kind of a quota to hit. I mean, was there really any reason to go up and start up with him?
Well, that's what really gets me about these things like, resisting a public officer and stuff like that. If the officer didn't have a good reason to accost you to begin with, why should that be a crime?
Exactly. If somebody who happens to be a police officer decides to go and rape a woman and she grabs the nearest object and bludgeons it over the head with it, is she now resisting him? Well, yes, but I think any reasonable person would find she'd be quite in the right in doing so.
Yeah. But I mean, even without going this extreme, this was a guy who was just standing around. They were waiting for a friend, and they were just standing there minding their own business. They haven't been accused of doing anything wrong before the officer gets there. So now, after all this time, the prosecutor is finally offering a deal. Quote, submit to a year of probation, do 24 hours of community service, have a mental health assessment, and submit to drug testing and warrantless searches. For iced tea.
Yeah, have the officer do that, then we'll talk. I think he needs to be tested for drugs if he decides what he did is in any way reasonable.
Yeah, how do we know he wasn't on something?
Yeah, if he was on something, it's called power.
Yeah, that's true. That could be more dangerous than any drug. So Beatty hasn't taken this deal yet, so it may go to trial, and that should be interesting, so best of luck to him.
Yes, indeed.
And now, from our No Good Deed Goes Unpunished department, we turn to the case of 9-year-old Cameron Renfro, who was suspended from school for, get this, shaving her head.
Now, I'm not a big fan of girls shaving their heads, but I don't think I'd ever ban them for it.
Well, what happened was her friend, Delaney Clements, is fighting cancer, and Clements lost her hair after starting chemotherapy. And that can be very stressful for a child, especially a girl, and especially at that age where they're trying to make all these social bonds. So Renfro decided to shave her head to show solidarity with her friend.
Admirable thing to do.
Yeah. So according to Clements, quote, I was really excited I would have somebody to support me, and I wouldn't be alone with people always laughing at me. I would at least have somebody to go through it all. And then the school suspended Renfro for it and told her she couldn't come back without a wig.
Oh, brother. I suppose doing it to the actual cancer sufferer would have been going a little too far then.
Yeah. And yes, the school officials did know why she was doing it, and they insisted that they couldn't make exceptions.
Yeah, right. You guys make exceptions all the time. Give me a break.
I mean, that's what happens when you put bureaucrats in charge of education.
Yeah, people, you are not mindless automatons. You're human beings who are capable of self-will and capable of using your own judgment. I don't think anybody is going to come down on you for saying, yeah, I think she did it for a good reason. She's not trying to be a punk or something.
I mean, even if she were, I don't get it. Shaving your head isn't something that really affects anyone else. And what are you in school for? Are you there to learn? And if you suspend them for something bogus like that, you're just interfering with their ability to learn.
Yeah, I mean, who's benefiting from this? It's just that they don't like the look of it, and they don't want people. Is it all an image thing? That's what it sounds like.
They have to conform.
Yes, and there the truth comes out. What do you expect?
Yeah, because they say the dress code, quote, was created to promote safety, uniformity, and a non-distracting environment for the school's students. Catherine Norman Bremen, president and chair of the Academy's board of directors, said in a statement, "Under this policy, shaved heads are not permitted." Okay, so let's think about this. There's nothing dangerous about a shaved head, so it's not about promoting safety. I don't see any way it could really be distracting, so it has to be the uniformity thing.
And these are the ones who are always going on about, oh, you're special to everybody. Make up your minds. Which is it? Are you all special, or are you all just mindless drones who have to conform?
Well, Tim Kinney helped establish St. Baldrick's Foundation to fight childhood cancer. And about this, he said, quote, "That is absolutely ridiculous. We started this foundation to raise awareness about childhood cancer and to raise money for research. The whole reason we chose head shaving was to be in solidarity with kids who are going through treatment. I can't believe people could miss the point like this."
They don't care. Just, oh, we gotta grow a shaved head. That's gonna look bad on us. Get away. She's spoiling our image.
Yeah.
They don't care about the welfare of children. They care about their image. They care about their egos. They care about feeling like big shots. I guess in one way, they are preparing kids for dealing with politicians who get even worse.
That's true. I think that was the most valuable thing my experience in the school system ever taught me.
Oh, yeah. When in my road to not being a statist anymore, education was one thing I had no problem throwing under the bus.
I'm telling you. But apparently this is something the St. Baldrick's does. They say they've shaved more than 350,000 heads that people, who are wanting to show solidarity to their friends who are going through this. And that's a good thing. And, of course, they raise a lot of money for cancer research, too. But, I mean, even if it wasn't about that, even if there was no cancer at all, suppose there are some people who just like how a shaved head looks, and they think that bald is beautiful. Who is the school system to tell them otherwise?
Yeah, I'm not personally a fan of it myself, but I understand that's only my personal opinion.
Yeah?
I say as the guy with the ponytail.
Bogosity.tv is a participant in the Amazon Services LLC Associates Program, an affiliate advertising program designed to provide a means for sites to earn advertising fees by advertising and linking to Amazon.com. Just clear your cookies and go to Amazon.bogosity.tv, or check the right-hand side of the podcast page for Amazon's best deals, including the deal of the day and limited-time lightning deals on all sorts of great products. So next time you buy online, go to Amazon.bogosity.tv. You say you don't like Bitcoin? Why not? Oh, because it's not gold. No problem. Just go to coins.bogosity.tv and you'll be taken to Coinable, where you can buy gold or silver coins or bars with your Bitcoins, with literally up-to-the-minute spot pricing. Now there's no reason not to jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon. Whether you're a Bitcoin miner, service operator, Bitcoin business owner, or market speculator, you can get gold and silver from reputable dealers. And Coinable has Bitcoin liquidity for fast processing of your order. Coinable even utilizes a special shipping infrastructure to ensure that your investment arrives safely at your door. And you know what? By going to coins.bogosity.tv, you won't pay a penny more, a Satoshi more for your purchase. But you'll help this podcast. You can even sell your gold and silver for Bitcoin as well. Coinable is your Bitcoin to gold marketplace. So go to coins.bogosity.tv and start turning your Bitcoins into gold now. Okay, folks, fire up your skeptical radars. It's time for another game of Onion, Not Onion. So, Tim, I'll read you a headline, and you tell me if it's a real headline or if it's from The Onion, okay?
Okay.
Humans display highest cognitive abilities when trying to retrieve object dropped between car seats. Onion or not onion?
Onion.
That's onion. Obama admits U.S. hasn't been the same since Buddy Holly died. Onion or not onion?
Onion.
Onion. And Homeopathy product recalled over fears it may contain actual medicine. Onion or not onion?
Onion?
Not onion!
Not onion!
Not onion! Terra Medica, which is a company that makes all sorts of different homeopathic remedies or whatever. I always call them homeopathic nothings. Because they're not, can't say remedies, they don't actually remedy anything. Can't say homeopathic medicine, it's not medicine. So they make all sorts of homeopathic nothings. And the FDA just had them recall more than 50 different products because they actually contained penicillin.
And meanwhile, actual penicillin is okay because it does contain penicillin. Heck, if it didn't contain penicillin, you'd get arrested for fraud. What's going on here?
Well, what's going on is there are people out there who are allergic to penicillin. So if they go to their doctor, the doctor says, well, I'm not going to prescribe you penicillin because you're allergic to it. But if they take this stuff not realizing it has actual penicillin in it, even if it's just a little bit of penicillin, it can create a lot of problems for them.
Oh, it's like that medicine James Randi once talked about, where it says it's homeopathic, but it isn't. It was actually just regular old everyday medicine. So in other words, it's a faked fake, as he called it.
Yeah, but apparently homeopaths use penicillin for all sorts of things like cough and cold remedies and stuff like that. Although, oddly enough, not for fighting bacterial infections. But apparently if you dilute the bejesus out of it until there's absolutely nothing left, then it has all these other things as well. So apparently something went wrong and there was just some low levels of penicillin left. Enough. Well, I'll read it from the FDA's release. Quote, in patients who are allergic to beta-lactam antibiotics, even at low levels, exposure to penicillin can result in a range of allergic reactions from mild rashes to severe and life-threatening anaphylactic reactions.
As if there wasn't enough reasons to hate alternative medicine. It just causes all this confusion.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be comical if it weren't for the fact that not only are you selling people phony cures so their illnesses are effectively going untreated, but then you get things like this just making it even more confusing for people. I mean, it's good that the FDA caught this, but how come the FDA isn't just outright busting homeopathy for being fraudulent in the first place? Isn't that their job?
Well, no, because they have to follow the law, and they've written the law so that as long as they don't claim there's any actual medicine in it, and as long as they don't put any actual medicine in it, they can keep selling it.
Unbelievable.
They just got to put that little, disclaimer on there. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.
That's always been one of my biggest arguments against the NHS. They actually subsidize some homeopathy. I mean, I have dared British people all over to try and defend that, and they just don't answer.
Yeah, that's a good way to get them to shut up.
Yeah, the more you dilute it, the more powerful it gets. Maybe that's where the Federal Reserve gets their ideas from.
They just keep diluting the currency. Maybe we should try diluting the government and see if things are getting more effective.
Hey, could be onto something.
Hey, we'll have homeopathic levels of bureaucrats out there trying to manage our lives.
Perfect.
Hackers, terrorists, the NSA. But I repeat myself. Your online security is under attack, and the weakest point is your password. That's why you need LastPass. LastPass plugs into your browser and allows you to randomly generate strong, unique passwords anywhere on the web, all protected by one master password. LastPass sets up in minutes and gives you secure automatic logins throughout the web, synchronizing across all your browsers and all your computers, at home, at work, or on the road. It even securely stores sensitive form data, including credit card numbers, backup sensitive documents, membership info, Wi-Fi logins, and more. And with LastPass Premium, you can get these benefits on other applications and even mobile devices, and also get priority customer support. Sign up at password.bogosity.tv for a free month of LastPass Premium. Log in securely everywhere using the last password you'll ever have to remember. Go to password.bogosity.tv and get LastPass now. Bogosity.tv and all of its services are hosted at GoDaddy. I've been a satisfied GoDaddy customer for over 10 years now. Their prices are great, and their 24/7 support is second to none. So I'm happy to be able to give you this special offer. Just sign up for any new domain, web hosting, email, or many other services and get 35% off by typing in the code WOWNOBOGON. That's WOWNOBOGON. Because there's nothing bogus about these savings on quality internet service. Get your own .com with a personalized email address, or establish your online business in a snap, all for 35% off. Or check the right-hand side of the podcast page for special offers on GoDaddy products. Get great savings on quality internet services. Just go to GoDaddy.com and use the code WowNoBogon. Alright, so Tim, have you checked out the new series of Cosmos yet?
No, I haven't.
Personally, I was waiting something like 30 years for that. I saw the original when I was 12 years old with Carl Sagan. So I've been waiting for a while for this, ever since I heard they were making it. And they've shown 3 episodes so far, and I think it's pretty good. I've got a few complaints about it, mostly that, unlike the original, the graphics they're not really being scientifically accurate with. Things like the asteroid belt has all these asteroids everywhere, and of course that's not what it looks like. They're way too far apart for that. Or, the comet tails had all these little tendrils that looked like it was, floating through water and billowing in air and stuff like that. And of course that's not how they look, and ordinarily I wouldn't care about that sort of thing, but this is Cosmos. I mean, you're supposed to step it up to that level, I think.
Yeah, the problem is real space is actually a whole lot of space. Not exactly very camera-friendly.
Yeah. So, I'm enjoying it. It's good. I'm not saying don't watch it. It's just a few nitpicky problems I have with it. But apparently, there are some other people who have some major problems with it. Can you guess who they are?
Religious people?
Specifically creationists. It mostly seems to be coming from Danny Faulkner of Answers in Genesis and the Creation Museum. And he was on the Janet Mefford show and just completely blasted the host Neil deGrasse Tyson and the whole Cosmos show for this, because, quote, creationists aren't even on the radar screen for them. They wouldn't even consider us plausible at all. Maybe that's because creationism isn't plausible at all?
At least they're finally getting it.
Quote, but when you have so many scientists who simply do not accept Darwinian evolution, it seems to me that might be something to throw in there. The old, some scientists say this, others disagree and think this, but that's not even allowed. Because that doesn't happen! No one seriously doing research in biology has any problems whatsoever with the theory of evolution.
Even if they did, it doesn't matter. Truth is not democratic, folks. I'm sorry, but it isn't.
So he mentioned how in the first episode of Cosmos, they said all views are up for discussion in the fields of science, but said, quote, I thought to myself, no, consideration of special creation is definitely not open for discussion, it would seem. Well, because we've already had that discussion. It's a done deal. I mean, he's not including flat Earth cosmology or anything like that either.
Of course not. And this whole, I knew a scientist who said, that doesn't mean anything. Like, wasn't it Sir Isaac Newton? He believed in,
alchemy.
Yeah, but that doesn't make alchemy more credible. All it proves is that he was human and he wasn't perfect. It has no bearing whatsoever on what the science is.
Right, and it's not like Tyson has ever insisted on equal airtime on the Christian Broadcasting Network.
Of course not, because he's not welcome there. That's not what they're there to talk about.
They also got onto him for covering global warming and the Big Bang Theory.
And what was their problem with that?
Because it contradicts the book of Genesis.
Anyway.
Actually, I'm not even sure what their problem with global warming is, but the Big Bang is against Genesis.
Yeah, I think they've kind of missed the whole point here. I mean, heck, I could point out lots of ways they're contradicting the Bible, but that never gets any credence from them.
Yeah. Oh, I heard a little bit ago about this one group of religious people. They were like, stand by your Christian beliefs and get a tattoo of, a cross or Jesus or whatever. And it's like, you might want to pick up the Bible again and see what it says about tattoos.
Wasn't a fan of them.
Leviticus 19:28, chapter 19, verse 28. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you, for I am the Lord.
Bit of a non sequitur, but oh well. I'm the Lord, therefore don't tattoo yourself. Okay, I'm Tim, therefore don't do this.
Well, it's because it's saying that this is God ordering you to do this and not just some Bronze Age nomad.
Even though it was, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
The mishap came just after an anti-science bill that would make it easier for teachers to critique established scientific theories like evolution passed the Oklahoma House. Alright, so you're complaining about not getting airtime in a TV show, yet you get to teach this nonsense in a school? Brief. I'm sorry, but I'm somewhat less than sympathetic, guys.
Yeah. But it's like you have to go through the process. You have to do the studies. You have to get them peer-reviewed. They have to be replicated. And if you can do that, then it becomes a part of science, and then it gets into the textbooks, and then it gets covered on documentaries like Cosmos. But you have to go through that first. And of course, that only works if what you believe is true.
Yes. In other words, Tyson paid his dues. You guys didn't. Deal with it.
Yep. And now it's time to holistically examine this week's biggest Bogon emitter. And this week it goes to Debby Vadja, both for her petition on Change.org and her reaction to the response from Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wales, and that's who the petition was to. And the petition says, quote, Jimmy Wales, founder of Wikipedia, create and enforce new policies that allow for true scientific discourse about holistic approaches to healing. I guess someone else wants equal time, too.
Ugh. And what exactly is scientific about holistic healing?
Well, Jimmy Wales' response is just so full of win. Quote, No, you have to be kidding me. Every single person who signed this petition needs to go back to check their premises and think harder about what it means to be honest, factual, truthful. Wikipedia's policies around this kind of thing are exactly spot on and correct. If you can get your work published in respectable scientific journals, that is to say, if you can produce evidence through replicable scientific experiments, then Wikipedia will cover it appropriately. What we won't do is pretend that the work of lunatic charlatans is the equivalent of true scientific discourse. It isn't.
Indeed. These people think they can just use the word science and boom, you're in. No, you can't do that. If you want to prove it, show me some real injuries that you've actually healed through this method. None of this, oh, she felt better nonsense.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all they have.
There's a very good reason why anecdotes are not admissible as scientific evidence. This has been explained many times.
Yeah. So in Vadja's response to Mr. Wales, she says, quote, It seems Wikipedia's policies aren't living up to the standard you yourself has set. The research has been repeatedly published in respectable scientific journals. Attempts to update the Wikipedia page to reflect these findings have been continuously deleted. The editors responsible have offered an arcane and ever-changing list of excuses why peer-reviewed research published in, are you ready for this, American Psychological Association and other professional journals simply isn't good enough for Wikipedia. And that's the only science she points to as psychological journals.
Yeah, as in it's all in their minds. I mean, you're never going to find a biologist who's going to support this nonsense.
Yeah, or actually do something like a double-blind placebo-controlled trial.
Because that keeps bias out, and that's the only reason why these people have any credence at all. It works because the people want it to work.
Yeah. So she goes on, quote, The Wikipedia page is out of step with existing peer-reviewed research on this topic, and opinionated, self-described skeptic editors are resisting any change. We're asking you to abide by your own principles on this topic. Wikipedia should reflect, not reject, the research findings published in relevant scientific journals, even if volunteer editors don't particularly like those findings.
Mm-hmm. Victim complex aplenty here.
Yeah.
Oh, I especially love this bit here. The Meridian energy system has been known to the Japanese for at least 2,000 years and the Chinese traditional medicine for more than 5,000 years, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
Yes, because I totally trust people from thousands of years ago to take care of my health in this day and age.
Yeah, that's an argument from antiquity. We don't accept that either.
Yeah, go to your doctor. Ask him to treat you using the same techniques used even a century ago. You'd probably have nightmares over it.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are all sorts of comments on this position just totally going after her. So there's one who calls himself scientific advocate. Quote, Can we stop pretending that holistic and alternative approaches to health are driven by well-intentioned non-profit motives and that there is somehow an industry-supported effort to suppress research and access? And they ought not to be subject to the same standard of evidence that mainstream effective medicine is? Holistic medicine is a billion-dollar industry in many countries. And that's something you also see with these, GMO people and organic people, and they're going out about Monsanto and all these other big corporations. Well, who do you think is doing all of the organics and all of the holistic remedies and all of the homeopathic stuff?
Yeah, it's not a bunch of Indians in the woods. It's a huge company making billions of dollars off gullible people by tugging at your heartstrings. They are manipulators. Stop falling for this.
Yeah, so I mean, you look down these comments and it's just person after person after person is just supporting Jimmy Wales on this, and they've got like over 8,000 supporters on the petition, but if the comments are anything to go by, a lot more people are against this petition than are for it.
I got a feeling a lot of people signed that petition weren't really filled in on exactly what they were signing.
Or they signed it in just to put a snarky comment in with the petition or something, because there were a few of those too. I sometimes think it'd be interesting if Change.org did a counter petition automatically for every petition that was created. You had a counter petition so you could sign against it, and then you'd kind of see which one wins out. I think that'd be interesting in a lot of those. But then you've got those like Emily Snyder, who says, "Wow, an organized attack on this position. I guess we must have hit a nerve." Yeah, that's the reason why people are against you.
Okay, new internet rule. This is kind of like Godwin's Law. The minute you claim there's a conspiracy against you, you're automatically wrong. Enough already.
There you go.
There, I just saved you all hours of internet debating. Don't be fooled by the image these people try to project. They're just some people who want to make money like doctors, but not actually go through the work and trouble it takes to be a doctor. And there's no argument to be made for that sort of thing. It is outrageous, and worst of all, it's potentially dangerous to your health and to your finances.
So after all that, Debby Vadja rises above even the creationists and homeopaths to become this week's biggest Bogon emitter. Do you want answers to creationist claims against evolution? Would you like to know more about evolution yourself, or even engage creationists more directly, with actual peer-reviewed sources to back you up? My book, How Evolution is Scientific, is designed to show the basics of evolutionary theory and how it is so well supported using the scientific method. It's impeccably sourced, with references to the actual scientific material, and is arranged using the creationists' own criteria of what is scientific. Using their own arguments against them, see how evolution is scientific, but creationism is not, based on observations, accurate predictions, logic, and evidence. Get answers to common creationist claims, and even a primer on abiogenesis, the start of all life. It's all in my book, How Evolution is Scientific, available at Amazon and on Kindle, EPUB, and PDF as well. Get How Evolution is Scientific and never be taken in by creationists again. And now let's gravitationally collapse this week's Idiot Extraordinaire! And big surprise, members of the news media said something stupid. Again.
How stupid was it this time?
I think they've outdone themselves. This was amid all that coverage of the missing Malaysia airline. During that period when they actually had nothing to cover. You remember, and all the time it was like, breaking news, we still have no clue what happened to the Malaysian airliner. Here to talk with us about why we don't know diddly squat is our panel of experts.
Oh, man. Is it that hard to find good stories? Really?
So, what do you do when you have nothing to report? You make stuff up, of course.
Oh, there. It's story time. And what do they have to tell us?
Well, this is Don Lemon on CNN and his panel covering all sorts of crazy theories, including the Bermuda Triangle, you know, when the plane wasn't anywhere near Bermuda.
And wasn't that debunked a long time ago?
Yeah. And, you know, that's far more likely than the plane went off course and crashed. But Lemon really outdid himself. Quote, "What do you think about black holes? Is it preposterous?" Yes.
That's not how black holes work. I knew that. I read that in a science book when I was like 12.
Yeah.
Probably less than that.
Well, I mean, black holes come in all sorts of sizes, but there's not much of an in-between when you're down on this scale. A black hole is either going to affect the whole planet or evaporate away too quickly to cause any harm.
If there was a black hole anywhere near here, we wouldn't be talking about this. I don't think.
Well, if nothing else, we'd like see it, and scientists would be, looking through telescopes and I mean, if there were anything like a black hole within a few light years, they'd be seeing it, they'd be studying it, we'd be hearing about it.
That would be far bigger news than the plane itself.
Well, apparently Mary Schaivo wanted to top him on this. She really brought home the fail with, quote, "A small black hole would suck in our entire universe." Oh, really?
Then how could we ever have known one ever existed at any point in time?
I mean, this is something you can look up. We've got supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies, including our own. There's Cygnus X1, which is a little over 6,000 light years away. The closest black hole to Earth we know of, maybe, there's some uncertainty about the exact distance, but there's a microquasar V4641 Sagittarii, just 1,600 light years away. So, we know black holes are all over the place, and the universe is still here.
Seriously, guys, you should have hired Shane to go on that panel. May have been less exciting, but at least you would have learned something useful from it.
Yeah, or get someone like Phil Plait on there to talk about how black holes actually work.
Oh, I think that poor guy's head would have exploded if he was on there.
Oh, no, I think he's heard worse. But I mean, the thing is, people seem to think that black holes are like these galactic vacuum cleaners that just suck in everything they can. And no, it's just gravity. That's all it is. They're a gravitational phenomenon. If you replaced the sun with a black hole of the same mass, the Earth wouldn't get sucked in. It would just continue in its orbit. We'd freeze to death, but, the Earth wouldn't just go in like some cosmic vacuum cleaner because it's the same gravity, because same mass, same distance, same gravity.
Yeah, it's just collapsed to a far smaller shape, hasn't it, right?
Yeah, because, that's the thing. You can actually get closer to the center of gravity. So you are on the surface of the Earth right now, and you're some distance away from the Earth's center of mass. If you tried getting to the Earth's center of mass, what would you do? You could dig down into the Earth, but then some of the Earth's mass would be beside you and above you, and it wouldn't affect you.
You have gravity pulling in several directions because you're in several different directions of the gravity at the same time.
Well, yeah, and if you were at the core of the Earth, then you could avoid getting fried and crushed and all that. You'd actually be in zero gravity, because you'd have all of the gravity of all of the bits of Earth all the way around you, and you'd just kind of be floating there in the middle. But if you compress the Earth down to about half its size, and you were standing on the surface of that smaller Earth, where you were half the distance to the Earth's center of mass, you would actually weigh 4 times as much, because it's an inverse square. And then if you crunched it down to a quarter of the size, you would weigh 16 times as much, and so on. At some point, because at each point you have escape velocity, you got to get your rocket ship going so fast to get out of the Earth. The bigger that gravitational pull, the bigger the escape velocity is. And at some point, you're going to reach a level of gravity where the escape velocity is greater than the speed of light, and that's what a black hole is. The gravity is just so big that light is not even traveling fast enough to escape.
That's why they're black.
Yeah. Well, actually, they emit X-rays for all sorts of complicated reasons, but that's what they are. That's how they work. And is it really too much to ask for news people to do basic research on a subject before mouthing off about it in one of the most popular news channels in the world?
Maybe I could understand a couple decades ago when we didn't have the internet, but how hard is it to do a Google search?
5 minutes would give you what I just told you.
Exactly.
Anything that describes how black holes work, you'd get that. And it's not like this was one of those sit around and chew the fat style shows. This was it said CNN breaking news. That's people were looking at this because I want news, and this is what they're getting.
Now imagine, these are the people telling you what politicians are doing.
Yeah.
If this is the kind of effort they're willing to put into a story like this, can you really say that you can expect these people to tell you the truth about what's going on in things that affect your life? You should be quite concerned about that. Like
when they talk about things like minimum wage or pretty much anything else economic, when they cover issues like net neutrality or NSA spying or anything like that.
Yeah, the only good news about this is the internet is making these people obsolete. Yeah. They're old, and they're getting older.
Yeah. So it's inevitable that Don Lemon, and especially Mary Schaivo, end up being this week's Idiot Extraordinaire! Well, that wraps up this Stop That, Too Silly edition of the Bogosity podcast. Please visit the forums of Bogosity.tv where you can read the show notes and join the discussion on these and other subjects. This podcast is free but not free to produce, so please donate via PayPal or Bitcoin at the top of the Bogosity.tv website or down the right-hand side of the podcast page, and give generously to keep this podcast going. And if you'd like to contribute to the podcast, just send a question, statement, news article, or rant to podcast@Bogosity.tv. Put it in an audio file, and if it's good enough, it'll get played right in the podcast. Thank you for listening, and thanks again to Tim Dyson for joining me.
Until next time, be aware and be wise.
Next week, I will be at the Libertarian Party of North Carolina's annual convention in Durham, so no podcast for next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, here's a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson. "It's not about the need to separate church and state. It's about the need to separate ignorant, scientifically illiterate people from the ranks of teachers." The Bogosity podcast is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 3.0 Imported License. Bogosity. History is written by the winners, and so apparently is economics. That's why there's Liberty Classroom. Probably the best single learning resource for history and economics on the web, Liberty Classroom teaches U.S. history, Western Civ, and economics from actual university professors. There's lots of free material to get you started, including introductory lectures on all these subjects. And when you sign up, you'll get the full site's content for just $99 a year, less than the price of 2 cups of coffee a month. And if you type in the promo code Bogosity in all caps, you'll get your first year for just $88. Lectures are available in both video and audio format, so you can watch or listen to them on your computer, your phone or tablet, or in your car. Learn at your own pace about the subjects you're interested in and become a more effective debater. You'll also get access to lots of supplemental materials and even the professors themselves via the discussion forum and even live video chats. Inform yourself against the myths and propaganda of our society. Visit libertyclassroom.com.